The following presentation is part of the Beyond the Blast Doors network.
From the farthest reaches of the galaxy, the Midwest, you're watching Beyond the Blast Doors live.
Beyond the Blast Doors live on a Thursday night. Something a little bit different here on the Beyond the Blast Doors network. Of course, you can always check us out, usually 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on Wednesday nights, but we're doing something a little bit differently here because we had some bad things happen in the country in the last 24 hours, and so no one really felt like talking Star Wars, and so here we are talking Star Wars because we have to move on with our lives. We hope everyone is safe and sorry. Things continue to develop. The show is about Star Wars. We're talking Star Wars, and it's the first episode of Beyond the Blast Doors Live here of 2021. I don't know if you've heard this joke yet, but I absolutely love it. 7-day trial of 2021. Would love to return it. Not satisfied at all. But I've got some good friends here that are wanting to talk about Star Wars. And so we're going to do that here in the next hour. A lot to get to. We're talking about the fact that Kevin Feige now, there's an update with his Star Wars movie. We have the launch of the High Republic. The multi-platform Star Wars story event is incredible. We're talking comics, and we even have a few surprises at the end of the show. A lot to get into. I'm not alone, though. Partner in crime here this week is, we all love him. He is Mr. Viral. It is Scotty J. Rose. Scotty, how we doing, sir?
David, baby, what's going on, dude? You looking sharp, I'm not gonna lie.
You know, Scotty, you combed your hair, and I appreciate that. It's a big deal to be here on Beyond the Blast Doors Live in front of you. And I'm wearing an undershirt under a sports sweater right now, so you're definitely outclassing me right now.
Well, dude, I got the Stay Bomb Bad shirt on. You know me. I have to rep it, and I'm glad to be here. Only because what we got today was very unexpected and kind of interesting.
The plan for Beyond the Blast Doors Live last night was going to be fan questions because every week we put out a call to action. Hey, tell us what question is on your mind. We'll answer at the end of the show. Got a huge response. A lot of questions about all the new Star Wars we're getting here in 2021. And so we had 5 chosen. And then we decided, hey, you know what? Let's wait a day when we're in an all better mood. We came back. We woke up this morning. We're like, dude, we're going to talk on Star Wars tonight. So now what we've actually got is this awesome news about Kevin Feige's project. We'll jump in that in just a couple minutes. Keep in mind, we're going to talk about how the Star Wars canonical timeline has also had a huge upshift, a huge change in the classifications of eras. We're going to talk about that in about 35 minutes. You'll want to be part of that conversation because it definitely changes how you look at Star Wars. No longer is it the prequel trilogy, the original trilogy, and the sequel trilogy. They're all busted up. We'll explain in about 35, 40 minutes. Stay tuned for that. Before we get started, I want to go ahead and say hi to live chat. 51 comments already. We've been live for like a minute and a half. And everyone's going up. So we got Frammy, we got Nick Melky, we got Galanorian Saber. Cannon Junkie is in the live chat with us. All Remaining Systems, Matthew, several Patreon supporters. Always good to see you guys. And a few new faces too. So it's great to see. We got even Andy.
We got the Cannon Junkie? Who's that?
The Cannon Junkie? I don't know.
Weird name.
I think he's financially obligated to be in the live chat every week.
He's an Ewok from what I've heard too.
That's funny. For the 21 people joining us already, thank you so much. Scotty, I mentioned I woke up today kind of like energized. Real quick, you had an experience today. You're a school teacher.
Yes.
You teach high school, right?
No, middle school.
That's right.
Well, early middle. So like 7th and 8th grade middle. And I had an experience. Yeah, I have to bring this up. Thank you for saying that, David. So one thing I need to bring up in particular, sorry about that. That was me. The fact that, you got to see Star Wars from a child's point of view, right? That's my whole mantra right now because I had some kids in aftercare. Okay. So the aftercare program at my school is like the kids whose parents are still working. They can't pick them up from carpool. Well, they're going to go to aftercare. And I usually watch the 5th graders. Okay. And I don't teach them yet because they're still so young, but I didn't have to leave immediately. So I said, look, how about I talk to you all about Star Wars? And all the boys were like, oh, let's talk about it. And one kid's like, well, what's so great about Palpatine? And I'm like, all right, here we go. So this kid had only seen, I think, the prequels. He's seen the OT, and he only seen TLJ and The Force Awakens. He had not seen Tross yet. I'm like, do you mind being spoiled? So we talked about all that stuff. And, there was a moment when watching Tross, and he's like, we're watching the very end of it when Palpatine, is zapping him, and he sucks the Force out of him, and he's like, wow, this is so incredible. This is the coolest thing in the world. And so you're sitting there thinking like, man, when I was in the theater, I might have not had those same feelings, but why don't we just for a second take that childlike perspective? I mean, every kid, and you know this, David, when you were young, you took everything at face value. You never really questioned it. It was just something innocent about us. And literally, like, the spark of positivity, the spark of hope just ignited in me because they showed R2 on screens, like, R2's in this? And I'm like, yeah, R2's in this, you know? And they're like, what is this whole dyad thing? And they're sucking the light. I'm like, yeah, all of that. And literally, like, I'm explaining it to them. And they're like, that was so much fun. Thank you for talking to me about that. And I'm thinking, sitting here, man, I didn't know that that's something I needed. After yesterday and the past week has just been a weird week, I think, for everybody. Like, what happened today just really lit so much fire in me to talk about Star Wars tonight. I can't even explain it to you. To watch a child experience Star Wars for the first time is kind of a surreal thing. So that was very rejuvenating, like, seriously. So that's my little positivity for you. David, do you have anything that happened to you within the last 24 hours of this past week into the new year that have, like, kind of brought your Star Wars spirits up a little bit?
I think that story right there. I think I'm impressed by how inspired you are by someone's child that's not your child. I think that's my biggest takeaway. It's like, you're not a parent. Like, you're just witnessing the genuine joy of the fan. I'm sure there's a joke there about how you're claiming ownership of someone else's kid, but I probably shouldn't make that since you're an educator. So I'll leave that alone. And because I'm at the point now where I've identified most of the time I'm not funny. So if I try not to be funny, that's usually when it sneaks out there. I don't know. I don't think 2021's given me that moment yet. I think there's been a lot of really cool moments. I talk about it a few times that Star Wars helped me navigate 2020 through a lot of challenges. And so, we'll see what the year has in store. We're going to get a lot of fun stuff here on Disney Plus in the next 12 months. And so I look forward to that. I don't know if I ever need a rejuvenation. I'll just go watch that season 2 finale, Mandalorian. But that's not what we're talking about tonight. But we are going to have that purity, just like what Scotty was talking about. We're going to look at every topic tonight with that same joy, that same innocence that someone watching Star Wars for the first time will have, because there is a lot of reason to be excited tonight. Let's go ahead. Let's get under it. We're jaw jacking. Let's talk about the first topic of the week, and that is the Loki. Executive producer Michael Waldron tapped to write the Kevin Feige Star Wars movie as part of a new deal with Disney. This is earth-shattering. This is breaking news within the last 12 hours. It came out this morning. And the reason why this is such a big deal is here is another name associated with the MCU brought into Star Wars storytelling. He is attached to the Doctor Strange sequel as the writer of that. And I want to give Deadline credit. Deadline had the exclusive on this. We're reporting on other people's news because that's the name of the game. But he's also tied to the Loki series for Disney Plus. According to Deadline, the details of his new contract with Disney enabled him to sign on for this project. And again, Scotty, all we know is that there is a movie in the future that Kevin Feige is producing. We now know that Waldron is writing. We still don't know what the hell this movie is about. Why, Scotty, for you, just learning the writer attached to this movie, why is this so exciting for you?
So this person, Michael, is developing Loki, obviously, the first and second season, which we know is going to be a weird thing. If any of y'all seen Endgame, how they kind of get Loki out of the story is crazy. And we've seen the trailer for the new Loki now, and it just looks really perplexing. So that excites me. Apparently, he also wrote for Rick and Morty, which also kind of plays with this weird timeline thing, and it always plays with alternate universes. And that's also tying into the next Doctor Strange film called The Multiverse of Madness, which straight up in its title says, we're playing with alternate universes. Okay. So my brain was like, how does this kind of sit with Star Wars, right? It's going to be really weird, but how does this sit with Star Wars? If they're going to get someone that knows how to write crazy timeline stories, crazy alternate universe stories, where's this going to go? Okay. And Feige, dude, Feige's the man. Like for real. Feige had taken MCU and just brought it completely up. I mean, he apparently had all of it mapped out from the beginning. So I trust this guy. Okay. A lot of us trust this guy. But the interesting thing is, Adam Frazier, which I know he's been on BTBD Live before, he mentioned something really interesting. Okay. I'm going to read his exact tweet, and you can find it on his Twitter at Adam Fraser. He said, "It makes me wonder if that's why Feige has tapped him to work on the Star Wars project. Could it be doing something with the world between worlds?" Now, that's Dave's baby, I think. It could be Lucasfilm's baby, but I know Dave was the one that kind of developed it. So, David, I don't know. I think, yeah, there it is right there. So check it out. I wonder if this is just a really good theory, or if this really kind of deals with a crazy writer who knows how to write alternate universes. It's really, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty perplexing.
It's convenient. It's convenient for a lot of, I don't want to even apply the word conspiracy to Star Wars because that just seems ridiculous in light of what real conspiracies are taking place. But when you think about the rumors that are spread, that people are zeroed in on, that was actually kind of funny. That made me laugh. I guess if you don't live on YouTube, then you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And that's fine too. When you think about the convenience of what Adam is suggesting and the fact that Waldron is tied to the multi-universe concept in his storytelling, there's a lot of people that think that we could have the sequel trilogy overwritten or removed. And that's just not going to happen. It's not going to get retconned. But I think it's interesting to have someone play. Listen, if a World Between Worlds was somehow integrated with the story, and you don't have to have Dave Filoni on every project for things from Clone Wars or Rebels to be used, but maybe they consult with them on learning the intricacies of this, the way the Force manipulates time. That would be wicked to see, I think, in live action. So when you ask, I think there's separate questions. Do you want, David, the sequel trilogy retconned and overwritten with new canon? No, because then I think it just makes it look like a mess. And then just from that's going to complicate it more. And I'm not interested in that. Here's the movies that you decided to make. These are the events that you decided to do. I think that the sequel trilogy would benefit, though, from a Clone Wars type of series that could flesh some of those things out. I think that would be really great. Now, the other question that if you're asking is, what do you think about multidimensional or time skipping? I think if there was somehow a manipulation with World in Between Worlds, and of course we learned about that in Star Wars Rebels. That's how Ahsoka is saved by Ezra, right? If there is some way to do that in live action, I'm all for that. I would just be, as anyone else would be, curious about what story would demand that. As fans, as an audience, the first time we see that is in Rebels. But that doesn't mean that Ezra or Ahsoka or whoever are the first Force users to find and utilize that.
Which is true, yeah.
Who knows? Yoda could have possibly gone through that whole thing. Mentioned Yoda coming up in 15 minutes. We're talking about how apparently Yoda was on the council, got kicked off the council, and brought back on the council. We're learning that thanks to the new content, thanks to the High Republic launch earlier this week. Just mind blowing to me. I think that's pretty cool. I think any Star Wars fan can get hyped about freaking Yoda getting removed from the council and having to get his way back on there. But yeah, to kind of wrap this up, I love Adam's point of how this is, and it's kind of connected to my point, Scotty. Of again, I'm going to beat this drum of the Star Wars streaming universe. Here's more evidence of yet another MCU talent coming over into the Star Wars playground to tell stories. And you mentioned how Kevin Feige, kind of the architect of the MCU, kind of having this master plan already kind of thought out. The story, I'm sure, changed over time. And a lot of people want to talk about this with Star Wars, how the sequel trilogy wasn't perfectly planned out. I think there is an argument to be said that from a strategic standpoint, the key pieces weren't maybe in place from a staffing and creative perspective. But we know with the original trilogy, things changed. We know that there were tweaks made to the prequel trilogy. So let's get off of that. But I'm excited to see how Kevin Feige did this right once before. And he did it with Favreau, who's in Star Wars doing The Mandalorian. And here you have Waldron is most recent, but you've had a Robert Rodriguez jumping in, and you had Reed come in and direct 2 episodes. Peyton Reed do 2 episodes of Mandalorian season 2, and the talent just keeps kind of flowing over there. And so I've been saying that I think it's going to be the Star Wars streaming universe where it's just these different projects on Disney Plus. But maybe they wow us, and maybe they're like, no, just like High Republic, for example, the universe is going to be multi-platform. So it's going to be Disney Plus, but it's also going to be these several theatrical films. and that would be wild. Maybe that's too ambitious. Maybe that's my imagination running wild, but that's what really excites me, titillates me, Scotty J-Ro.
As it should, though. That's the thing. We're in an era now where it seems like anything's on the table. I mean, you and I were watching that press conference live, and they dropped the ball, okay? And they didn't even name everything, obviously, because this didn't get really that much information. And I want to play devil's advocate just because it's something I think is important, okay? The Rian Johnson trilogy, okay? Haven't heard anything about that. That was announced in 2017. Now, why am I bringing that up? Well, it's important, okay? This guy is writing the new Doctor Strange film. This guy is also doing Loki as well. Are we putting too much of our eggs in one basket? I mean, you remember, I'll never forget. I was walking to the library of my college campus and my phone buzzes because I'm notified by Star Wars tweets. And I look and it's Rian Johnson slated to write a whole new Star Wars trilogy. I'm like, what? The movie hadn't even come out yet. It was 6 weeks away. And here we are now, what will be 4 years later in like November, and no news besides that very own article. So I'm not trying to sound like a negative Nancy, but I will say that maybe it's a lot of trust there. That is a lot of trust to put on one person to just, here's Kevin Feige's movie. That's a lot. That is a lot.
Well, it really is. And to a point that you may mention too, is there's just so many things that the MCU has done really well that we'd like to maybe see mimicked in Star Wars in a certain way. And when I think about that, I'm thinking about just the interconnectivity, which is something that we'll touch on when we get to be on the panel with Marie Wilson here shortly. Just the way that even in a micro version of just the High Republic. And that's, again, if you don't know what the High Republic is, it's book, it's comic, it will be Disney Plus at some point in the next 3 to 4 years, and it's this cohesive story. And the MCU has the canon connectivity. I think it has just the casting nailed. I think there's a real attention to detail to bringing the comic book characters to life, and there's like that spirit that is damn near 10 out of 10 every movie. Like, think about this, like Thor 1 sucked, right? And then you get Taika Waititi comes in with the third one, and Thor, whatever it's called, Thunder God of Love or whatever. That's
no, it's Ragnarok. Ragnarok, dude.
Ragnarok.
So, did you see it in theaters when it came out?
Yeah, it was incredible, dude. And it's like one of the best ones that had come out.
Seriously. And like, you're sitting there watching it and you're like, I hated this character in like every other movie. And that movie found a way to make him vulnerable, found a way to make his story interesting. And it found a way to really kind of take a character that most people would say the movies were lackluster at best to then this whole new level of importance. So Feige and Taika, I mean, they found something with, they struck gold with that character.
Is the guy who did that. So the weakest part of the MCU was probably the Thor trilogy until Taika Waititi got a hold of it, made it maybe the best, and now that guy is making Star Wars as well, made Mandalorian content, and now he's going to make a movie of his own in a couple of years. So that's awesome. So that's my big thing, the cohesive story, and I think who they put in the roles, I really like that thoroughness of the MCU. Scotty, what is it of the MCU, real quick before we switch topics, what is the one thing that the MCU did right that you want to see happen in Star Wars?
You know, and you said it earlier, and I think it's important to address it. You know, like you said, the OT didn't really have the cohesion that everyone seems to think it had. George even knew that, you know, when making it. He's like, well, yeah, Luke and like that was planned. And then he's like, no, that was never planned. It's just how it is. Sequel trilogy, I'm going to be honest with you, I think in a way kind of had that same exact thing. Now, does it mean I won't love it still? Does it mean the memories that it gave me are phenomenal, and I'll still watch it pretty much if it's on. But the most connected Star Wars has ever been was the prequels. I mean, it was written by the same guy, directed by the same guy through and through, and that's what makes Star Wars so special. So with all that being said, I would love, and it's obvious with the MCU, everything had been that way. There are some very small things that never really made it, but they're going to take those small things and put it in another thing later. That's how they work. So the biggest thing for me recently was we were all watching that final episode of The Mandalorian, and we were all like, man, this is great. The credits cut, and it doesn't go to that little small box that you're used to seeing. It stays big. And so we all watch the credits, and then we lead to the huge part of the post-credit scene, which we know is strictly an MCU thing. So the reason I bring that up is if they keep giving us nuggets like that, I'm sold. I love things like that. things like that keep the viewers watching. It keeps people interested, right? So I don't mind if they take that formula. That's a formula that really works. People stay till the credits. Credits should be watched anyway. Like, you should appreciate the people that worked for a long time on a certain film. You know, we have a friend on Shannon Moran, part of the network. I mean, she is that VFX editor. She does that professionally. She's one of the names reading the credits. Respect those people. So if Star Wars goes that route, I'm stoked. I love it. I really do.
I love it too. Hey, we want to know what you think, though. What is it that excites you so much about this news, about a writer now attached to Kevin Feige project? I think because we know so little about it, that's why I'm excited about it the most. And I think it's because there's this like assumption that, well, if Feige's attached to it, maybe there's something larger at hand. Maybe it's just a one shot. Who the hell knows? We got a comment from the live chat. Scotty, what do we got?
We got Framey. Scotty is right. Nothing goes to waste because everything has value in the right context. You know, totally. 100%. They had set up so many small things that are now getting huge movies to it. Like, I forget the exact film, but there's a movie that was referenced to terrorist group in Iron Man 2 that is now getting a whole film on it. Like, that's crazy. Some things just don't go to waste with the MCU. I think that's why I like it so much.
I think that's a great comment to pull. Did you pull that comment just because it said that you were right?
Yeah, of course. You know me.
That's convenient. Galanorian Saber has this one. No matter whether you like The Last Jedi or not, with the directing talent we have seen in Mandalorian, I don't think it would make sense to have Ryan do an entire trilogy. I think that's fascinating. We've made this comment before on the show, how we kind of feel like The Mandalorian is creating this stable of directing talent. And so we kind of saw it with season 1, where you get Deborah Chow to do a couple episodes, and then she gets tapped to go do the Kenobi content on Disney Plus. And so it'd be kind of interesting to see, you know, okay. And here's another example too. Taika Waititi did 1-2 episodes of The Mandalorian. Now he has his own movie. So I mean, I think it's going to be interesting. A lot of people have been saying it would be sweet if you did a Bryce Dallas Howard, Dr. Aphra movie, which would be kind of wild. It doesn't have to be a female led, but I mean, that would be kind of cool to see her have her do her like Indiana Jones type of a movie. That'd be kind of fun. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I think that's a really good point. Some people in the live chat are just talking about Fat Thor. So that's really good. Andy says Thor 1 didn't suck. So everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but that movie was hot garbage. Okay.
Compared to all the other movies that started there, like Captain America 1, amazing. Iron Man 1, amazing. Guardians, amazing. But Thor, compared to not for me.
Yeah. And then Natalie Portman wasn't the best in that either. Dang it, Natalie. Okay, what do you think about this? So let's go down to the live chat, or if you're watching the rewind, comment down below to continue the Star Wars conversation. We're going to go on to the next topic here, and this is big if you are into books and comics. If you're not, stay with us here, because this is one of those moments that if you're not into books or comics, this is a great entry point, because it's starting right now and it is fresh. It is the High Republic. This is set 200 years before Phantom Menace. So these are all new characters, Jedi in their prime, and we are going to get to the point where a dark force emerges. We know that, right? Because the Acolyte is going to be tied to this High Republic era in some way, somehow on Disney Plus in the next few years. But it launched this week, and it's exciting because there are so many titles that are linked to this. And we got an image that we're going to go ahead and bring up here just so that you can understand, if you haven't already, the magnitude of what's happening here with this event series, because you have Kevin Scott working on comics. You have Claudia Gray writing her book. It's really impressive when you think about it. We're going to go ahead and bring that full screen, and we just lost it, so we'll go back to it. Oh no, technical difficulties. Oh no, everything's fine here. How are you doing? No, seriously, this is the image though. So 3 books, 2 comics. You know what? Sometimes you just have to kick it like the Falcon and Empire Strikes Back. That's what I always say. But hey, no, it's really cool to see this multi-platform series kick off, and we have the next wave announced. There's so much here, Scotty. I guess I'm trying to process it all, and I want your take on this. What's your excitement level at right now? Because I'm hyped.
The thing is, this week they also had the press conference. I believe it was on Monday, right? Where they announced the rest of the slate, okay? And these stories are going to be going on for a while, and I don't want you to feel left out, right? I just don't want people to feel left out because I'm sure Bombad's going to cover it. I'm sure you're going to cover it too, David. So it's really important that if you haven't started yet, and I've been seeing spoilers, kind of start right now. Don't feel left out because they're not stopping, right? So my take on this so far is I'm 15% through the audiobook, only 15%. And I'm loving it. It's doing some really interesting things with the Force I didn't expect. It's doing a lot of things with story. Like they're taking some bold starts with this. I'm like, man, this is kind of hitting hard real quick. So I'm just excited for the fact that we're getting this huge interconnected thing and that it's going to be worth it because if you keep up with it, I'd imagine The Acolyte, which is the show, I'd imagine that will conclude this story or at least bring in an interesting factor to it. I think you're going to feel really on top of things once you get to that. So, David, I don't know. I'm really just looking forward to seeing how all this develops because so far, Charles Soule's Light of the Jedi is pretty good. I'm literally like about an hour in. So
well, and you also have Claudia Gray who's doing a book. She's fantastic. You have Justina Ireland who's involved as well. Kevin Feige in the comics. Jose is doing storytelling for this as well. So like there's a really cool group that is creating a lot of content. I mean, multiple books, comics, because right now you have the 3 books and then you have the Star Wars High Republic comic #1 that dropped this week. We'll talk about with Marie here in like less than 5 minutes. And then we also have Star Wars Adventures High Republic. So that's for like, the real little, kids, the young Star Wars fans. I think what's cool about it is they're saying that because it's novel, because it's comic, because it's this this multi-platform experience, you don't have to read anything in particular order. I would be kind of curious though, how that would impact how you digest the story, because maybe you read this book here and maybe something gets explained in this other comic book, but like does it like line up chronologically? I'm not quite sure if that's it. The reading order is the order that these stories come out. So that could be something that you really enjoy, or you might want to wait for each phase to drop so that way you can read things in order. But the fact is that we're getting 3 phases. So right now we're in the Light of the Jedi, but the next phase is the Quest of the Jedi. And then the third phase is the Trials of the Jedi. And if you're interested in this, and I know that I'm a little scatterbrained on this topic right now, because one, honestly, it is overwhelming how much content that just dropped this week. But also, I'm just really hyped about it. There is a great article. Arzu Amin did a great story for BeyondTheBlastDoors.com. She actually watched the stream on January 4th and did a really nice write-up. Go check that out, BeyondTheBlastDoors.com. And she goes in there and details the fact that there's just so many new stories. Everything here is new, and you're exploring new characters, new places, new tech. And there's some similar story beats. Like I read High Republic #1. And turns out that this Padawan doesn't think that their master thinks that they're ready for the trial. Where have we heard that before? I think that's just going to happen before, because it's, that's a common divide, I'm sure, between masters and apprentices, right? So there's some familiar beats, but like overall, it is all new. And this whole concept of Starlight Beacon just really turns me on as a Star Wars fan. Like it really excites me that somehow Star Wars, the more you go in the past of Star Wars, it seems like the tech is even cooler. I think that's why I like Old Republic. It's like thousands of years before the original trilogy, but it looked cooler to me. So I'm kind of going on a rant now. We got some books announced. So if you're a big fan of Kevin Scott, he traditionally does comics, but he has done like he did Dooku Jedi Lost, which is wonderful. Is an audiobook that became eventually a book. He's doing Rising Storm. He's also doing Monster of Temple Peak, which is the first graphic novel. You have Out of the Shadows by Justina Ireland as a young adult novel. Edge of Balance is Justina Ireland. And then you have Daniel Jose Older, who is doing The Race to Crash Point, which is a middle grade novel. We are told that Claudia Gray is going to be working on a second book. We just don't know what that is, but she's like, hey, like keep an eye out for it. It should be like a lot of fun. I think the panel was great. We have a link to it on this article on BeyondTheBlastDoors.com. If you want to hear, they do a great job. Each author goes through and talks about their favorite character. It would be way too complicated to try and break down each character right now.
Oh yeah.
Especially with all these stories going out. But I will tell you that if you do a free trial for Audible. You can get access to all this content. You can listen to it for free. And Scotty, you're listening to the audiobook. Star Wars audiobooks are awesome because they have the score, they have the sound effects. It's just like it's like Saturday morning. It's amazing, right?
It's great. See, and I've told people this before, but my commute, not that long, about 25 minutes, but I love the fact that I can get a little bit of an audiobook put in or a little bit of podcast put in. And this audiobook, honestly, is one of the best so far because the Thrawn ones are really drawn out. I mean, like Thrawn will talk for 25 minutes. Yeah. But for this right here, you get every car ride this past week for me has been like, oh, snippet of this. Oh, snippet of this. So it's been really kind of wonderful. I'm just thankful for the fact that it's really fresh, really new, perspective that no one's discussed in canon before. So you take all those things, and especially what's going on in the world right now, you're like, I want something new. I want something refreshing for once. So I think it's nice that it's coming out the way it's coming out. And like you said, it does put up a challenge, so apparently some things from the comics kind of spoil some parts of the book, which I'm okay with. This is all a galaxy far, far away, right? And a lot of things, you need to understand that this is all going to be for us kind of fans, right? And it might get some kids involved. It might get some really casual fans involved. But ultimately, this is kind of a big, like, here you go to the ultra fans, people like us. You want to know what happens to the Jedi? What made them so special? Here's this book. And this could catch fire, and this could really become something tremendous for Star Wars. This Absolutely. Could be the new approach. So
Matthew dropped this in the live chat. He said they released the order to read them to avoid spoilers. But actually, Matthew, if you read the comic book, or well, I'll let Marie explain because she was talking about this. How if you read like the comic before the book, or the book before the comic, you could be, or you could just be like me and completely lost. You don't even know what the hell you're reading. You're just reading it because it's new and it's Star Wars and you like Star Wars. I'm not going to get into it, Drew. You know what? We're just going to bring her in. You know what? Be on the panel. It's January 7th. So we're going to do this. Marie Wilson. She is the one that should be talking about comics and books because I make it confusing as hell. Oh my God. I just did a terrible job of that. Why did I do that, Marie Wilson? Save us from this. Save us from me. How are you doing? Happy New Year, Marie.
Happy New Year.
So we got two comics. We've got High Republic 1 and we've got Star Wars number 10. Before we get into the comics, real quick, explain to us, is the reading order matter with High Republic? Because I thought you just said that you read out of order and you had a spoiler issue.
So it appears that the reading order is the release order, which when you release a book mere days before a comic, an adult novel mere days before a comic, expecting someone to get through an entire few hundred pages before you read a comic book is a bit much. So I'm not quite sure how the comic is going to match up moving forward. But yeah, I did feel like I ran into a couple things that were a little spoilery in the comic because right now I'm 63% of the way through Light of the Jedi, but at the time, and I still haven't come across those parts. So it's yeah, I don't know. Expecting you to finish an adult novel in like 4 days is a lot.
That's wild. Yeah, and especially if you don't get it beforehand, like a lot of people we know in the content creating world get these things 4 or 5 weeks in advance, right? So some people have already just gone with their own liberty because they've already read it and dropped some spoilers or hinted at some stuff. So not just saying it's not fair, but you're right. You don't want to, you're a comic person, obviously. I know David is too, and once those drop, I want to get my hands on them. I want to read them. Yeah. And you almost feel bad because you're like, well, I'm so close to being done with this book. Why can't I just, it's a whole thing. I completely agree. We
have Marie Wilson from BeyondTheBlastDoors.com joining us to talk Star Wars comics with us on Beyond the Blast Doors Live. Like I said, 2 comics coming out this week. Star Wars number 10, High Republic number 1. Let's start there because High Republic is the big event of the week and so far of the year early on here in 2021. Marie, what I love about this comic, and maybe this is ridiculous, that this is the one thing that I'm really holding on to. It's one bubble in the frame where it's saying that Yoda was on the council, was removed from the council, and now back on the council. When you read that frame, did that stop you in the story? Because I was stunned. I could not believe I just assumed that Yoda's always on the council.
Yeah, it was really interesting. And let me pull it up. I took a picture of it so that I could be reminded. He says, "Not finished on the Star Hopper, am I? A different path I walk as the Force leads." And so who knows what that's talking about, but it's exciting and interesting, and I'm very curious to see what he's talking about.
I guess in my head, I just always thought that Yoda was always the dude on the council. And the fact, why was he removed? Was it a situation where he did something wrong the Jedi Order or the rest of the council didn't approve of? Did he have to go on his own mission? Like we've seen Yoda in the Clone Wars, in those hidden episodes, or the lost episodes rather. We saw Yoda go on his own mission trying to figure out why he was hearing the voice of Qui-Gon Jinn. So is this a scenario where Yoda is deciding, you know what, I got to go do my own thing? I think
that's what it is.
So, and that's maybe something that gets addressed here as we continue to further explore, explore the High Republic and something else. And Scotty, you'll be able to appreciate this since you're reading the book. You already know what Starlight Beacon is, and it's essentially this Jedi temple in the stars in space in the Outer Rim. And we learn who becomes the Marshal. And again, I don't want to give anything major away because I want you to buy the comic, support your local comic book shop, and such. But I think that, again, it's that canon connectivity that I think is so good. Marie, real quick, this overall comic, what is it like when you're reading this story and it's all brand new characters that we've not really met before, unless you're reading the other book? Did it flow well for you, or did you find, like, I had to go back a couple times because I was like, oh, this person's name is this, and I was trying to remember it. What was your experience reading this, Marie?
One thing that I really like about the fact that this was a comic with visuals that introduce new characters is that you can put a face to a name, because that is something that is really difficult with reading Light of the Jedi. Is there are like 25 new characters that you've never heard of before, and there's no faces. So it's like, and you're trying, and eventually you get it after they're repeated over and over again, but like, whoa. And another thing I really enjoyed about this particular comic is that it had a lot of great world building with the Zimpies planet. And so I thought that was really interesting.
I think that's the great thing about comics. And this is why I think it's crazy that Scotty doesn't like comics as much.
See,
and I'm not talking on you. I'm not talking on you. But it's like there's so many tiers. So like I think the casual fan in this comic, or the casual Star Wars fan, can latch on the fact that Yoda's in this. Yeah, and you're like me, where they're like, "Oh shit, I didn't know that Yoda was not on the council for a period of time." And then you can go a little bit deeper, and you're like, "Oh man, like really enjoyed, like, you know, learning about all these new characters, face to the name, and this world building." You just mentioned a species that I would guarantee that most people don't know what the hell that is. But if you really like to get into the trough or the weeds of Star Wars canon, you just got to pick up a new species that has, all this new information that you can go and explore. And that's great because some of us are more hungry for that kind of content than others. So I think High Republic, while it is all new, it's still Star Wars, and it's brand new stuff that we can explore. I'm getting sweaty on this end of the conversation. I don't know about you guys. My Star Wars joy is.
Can I defend myself, David? Can I defend myself?
Yeah.
So, not that I don't like reading the comics, not that I don't, don't have any. Okay, so that's what I would say. Audiobooks are my thing. Easier to do for me. I'm sure I'd love a graphic novel. I have a stack of them that I was gifted for Christmas. I'm gonna go. I am. I promise you I will. But the thing I want to kind of tie in is sometimes, for some people, it might even be a financial thing. I'm sure there's some websites that we don't want to disclose that might have some stuff already, shown or free, whatever. But I think it's really important to realize you're right. There are some really cool connective tissues, and I'm glad Marie's here to help cover it. And I'm glad some things can get brought up in other, outlets that bring up these things. So Marie might be the one to convert me tonight. We'll see. I'll let her. I'll see. We'll make it work.
This is an intervention for Scotty J. Rowe.
Yep, it is.
Let's pivot to this. Marie Wilson with BeyondTheBlastDoors.com joining us here on B2B Live Beyond the Blast Doors Live, episode 103. But I really don't think we care about counting until it's like episode 200. So it's like you hit 100 episodes and no one gives a damn what your number is. And that's fine too. High Republic is all new, very unfamiliar because it's all new. So we're going to learn that. But if you like to play in, let's say, the original trilogy, Star Wars main comic line with Charles Soule is the place for you right now. Issue number 10 dropped this week. Really enjoyed this, Marie, because it feels to me like there's this like ancient droid. There's some information we're trying to pull from it. Needs to translate something or something. But then we find out Lando is actually working with Bib Fortuna back on Tatooine. And Marie, it seems to me like we are getting the foundation now of how Lando is able to infiltrate Jabba's palace as a bounty hunter, essentially, in Return of the Jedi. What was it like for you when you came across those panels? Am I wrong? Am I right? Tell me what you think.
I think that's a great thought. The panel of Bib Fortuna, that like giant panel of him was so creepy. It was awesome.
It was a lot better than he did in the Book of Boba Fett teaser, though. My God,
yeah.
I'm not here to body shame anybody, but Bib Fortuna's a piece of crap. Anyways, go ahead.
So it was. Yeah, when the comm link went off and Lando answered it and he's talking to Bib Fortuna, I'm like, oh no, like I remembered from earlier in this particular series that he had made a deal with Jabba, and so it's like it's coming to fruition and something has to give, and I'm just like, oh no. So yeah, but that would be really cool if working with him was how he was able to infiltrate.
I think it sounds like to me that Lando is, you get great character development with Lando right now in the comics because he's trying to work Bib and Jabba. He's saying that he's got information on the rebellion. Meanwhile, he's trying to help the rebellion. So you know how this story is going to end, right? You know the end game where he's actually using the rebellion as weight to get him in the door, but he's actually going to turn around and stab Bib and Jabba and all this because he's the one that's helping Leia and everybody infiltrate so we can, so the events of Return of the Jedi can play out. It's really cool. Like, I love how it's set up. It's a lot of fun. And again, Scott, for someone who's not super into it, but like cares about Star Wars story, like Luke's waving a yellow lightsaber right now.
I know. I've seen that. Yeah, that's pretty sick.
There's some
that's pretty sick.
So it's really cool time to be part of the Star Wars comics. A lot of great stories happening there. So if you want very new Star Wars and you want nothing to do with the Skywalker saga, go play in the High Republic area. But if you dig the OT especially, and you want to learn about what's happening between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, the main Star Wars line is for you. Marie, before we let you go, we meant to do this last year, but events happened. Things changed. We had to pivot. We had to adapt to change. As my mom liked to tell me when I was growing up, David, you're going to have to learn how to adapt to change because sometimes life isn't fair. It's got really,
trauma there.
Some trauma. I have a twitch sometimes. We're kicking off 2021, but real quick, let's do a look back. Your top 3 comics of 2020. If you don't like Star Wars comics or you don't have time to read Star Wars comics, what are the 3 that you should still check out? And what's your list? Give us number 3, Marie.
Okay, so number 3 would be actually Rise of Kylo Ren.
Really?
Yes. And so numbers 2 through 4 came out in 2020. And the reason is, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, that was the Force knocking that list out of your hand. I am blown out of my damn mind. That is on your top 3.
No, the reason is because I understand, this is a little personal, but I understand where Ben is coming from, in that he feels pressure to be a certain way because of who his parents are. And sorry, my door doesn't close and my cat is like...
No, I'm putting you full screen. Let's see that cat. Oh, ran away. Bye, cat. Oh, there you go.
Okay. So I understand how he feels, all that pressure and like he's this golden child and he has to live up to these extreme expectations. And yes, he turns evil because of all that. So I don't connect with that part. But I get at a base level where he's coming from.
Apprentice Ewok in the live chat says, Marie and David converted me when it came to reading comics. We did something right in 2020. Sucking your money away. Your bank account's going to hit you in a couple weeks. It's all right. We love you. We'll talk we'll talk Star Wars comics a lot, I'm sure, in 2021 together now that you're on board. Marie, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is the Darth Vader 2020 and on numbers 1 through 5, Dark Heart of the Sith arc. Because it had so many prequel connections, and that always makes me super happy. So we got to see Sabe, and
yeah, I don't want to spoil it, but like the whole
I know that one.
arc, yeah, it's like it's some really good Star Wars. I was really apprehensive about another Darth Vader comic after what Charles Soule did with his 2015 run. And there was like that Darth Vader Visions or something that I wasn't really into. But Greg Pak has really come out, and he's hitting home runs every issue. So if you aren't on that one already, we're under like 12 issues. So there's still time to go find out the individual ones or go get the trade. But jump on that one for sure. Marie, what's number 1?
Number 1 is the ending of the Dr. Aphra series, the original one. So numbers 39 and 40, A Rogue's End arc, and then Epilogue and Empire Ascendant. Oh my gosh, we get to see the end of Tolfra. So Magna Tolvin and Aphra's relationship, we get to see how that ends. And we get to see a beautiful reconciliation between the two, how you would want any failed relationship to end up.
So like Dr. Aphra is like that character to me that amazes me so much, because I think that she's going to be Aphra has to be live action at some point. I just feel like, so here's why. 1, a great strong character that I think a lot of Star Wars fans see themselves in. 2, look at the sales.
Yeah.
Look at the comic book sales. It's not Star Wars, the main line, that's making the most money, folks. Aphra makes the dollars right now.
Wow.
And
amazing.
So that's pretty crazy, especially when you consider the fact that, we ended the first run of Aphra, but so damn popular, we sure as hell made sure that there was a second series, and I think Alyssa Wong is doing a fine job writing that right now. I just, it's Star Wars is Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
In the way that Han Solo was not. And so I think that I would love to see Aphra go live action. Marie, I know I teased you on number 3 with the Kylo Ren comic, but I think that is a really solid top 3, and I love your reasons behind each one. I will never sell someone that they're wrong for having an opinion. I might disagree with their take, but there is no one that does a more thorough job when it comes to Star Wars comics than Marie Wilson. So you can always trust Marie on her takes. That's her top 3. Make sure you check out those books. It's 2021. You can still find those books from 2020 and have a good time. Marie, anything that you want to throw out there? Wait,
Scotty has a question.
What do you got, Scotty? Scotty doesn't know. Scotty, I can't hear you.
Sky doesn't know. Sorry about that. But one thing I think is really important is that Marie addresses this, okay? Because here I am sitting, listening to Marie. I like the perspective. The 2 comics that I didn't really keep up with, I did not read. I had friends send me, pictures of and stuff and tell me about were literally the number 2 and number 3 of your list. And number 1, interestingly enough, honestly, I don't know that much about Aphra. All I know is like some small plot points. Would that be a good place for me to start to get a new perspective? Because it seems like, in a weird way, Marie, and you can be honest, it seems like it was kind of like the High Republic in terms of really new, like Indiana Jones in space new. So is that a good place to start for me, just to get a new perspective through the comics that kind of ties in with Vader, that kind of ties in with some other stuff? I'm aware of that, but is that a good place to kind of go back and kick off my comic book, I guess, which will be an addiction at some point. So will that be the gateway drug?
Well, at the very beginning, of course, there's the connection with Darth Vader a bit, but it ends up becoming definitely its own thing quite quickly. And you are introduced to some really wonderful characters, and Magna Tolvin, an Imperial officer who is so in love with Dr. Aphra, and Dr. Aphra's in love with her, and it is just beautiful. So I 100%
Okay.
recommend that first Dr. Aphra run for sure.
Okay. So like that's the starting point. Look, Marie, I trust you. Okay. I'm supposed to trust you on this. You're the comic book guru for this network. So I'm gonna give that a shot. I am. I promise you. Next time I see you next Wednesday, I will have read a few more of those. So
I'll go back and reread those comics with you if that helps motivate you, Scotty. I got no problem doing it. Marie, before we let you go, I always enjoy talking Star Wars with you. Anything else that you want to say before you get out of here, or should we just tell the good people where they can follow you?
I think that's it. You can follow me on Twitter at Alia Morgaine.
Marie Wilson with Beyond the Blast Doors. She is simply the best. Marie, thank you so much for being here, and Happy New Year to you, friend.
Happy New Year.
See you soon, Marie. Marie Wilson is she's the best. There's
she's a peach.
Yeah, she's so fun to talk about Star Wars with, because I think what we just experienced, right? She can go super insider baseball with you on Star Wars, but she can also keep it like real generic, which I think is really important. I think that sometimes we try and like why I struggle with High Republic is because my mind starts going to these details that are just so specific after having listened to the audiobook or starting to read the comic that already 90% of people would have. They don't know what's going on. So I mean, I'm doing this much myself. I'm telling myself, keep it general, and then we can have these times where we pivot and we go deep. Apparently, I look like I have meat sweats going on. Do you see what's going on in the live chat right now?
Yeah, they're making Euro Trip references. I mean, look at all this.
David meat sweats ammo.
I don't get that.
David looks like he has the meat sweats. David's going to start Twitch streaming. No, I'm not. I'm not actually going to go on Twitch. I already invested enough time on this YouTube channel. I don't need to be doing Twitch. We got one more topic here, and then we are going to take some fan questions. And I think this one is, let's just do this really quick. I don't think it actually warrants a whole lot of time, Scotty. I think that this is just kind of like the culmination of this High Republic timeline, like the whole experience. So basically what's happened here is this. There's a graphic. We're going to go with it. Here's the situation. High Republic has restarted the Star Wars timeline. And I'm not being over dramatic. I'm not even complaining about it. It's just the reality of what this is. Okay. Yes. So I'm not here to scare anybody. And I'm not here to make an upheaval. This is just the situation. We have a new era in Star Wars. And for some reason, my images on screen aren't very big this week, but that's okay. This is what I mean. It's no longer the age of Republic, rebellion, resistance. That's gone. Because of the High Republic, we now have new eras, and they are as follows. You have the High Republic, the fall of the Jedi, which is Phantom Menace, Revenge of the Sith, and Clone Wars. You have the reign of the Empire, which is, okay, I guess I would also include Attack of Clones. Reign of the Empire would be Clone Wars and Solo. You have Age of Rebellion, which is Rebels, Rogue One, and A New Hope. The New Republic, which is Mandalorian, and that's Mandalorian, that's Ahsoka, that's Rangers, that's all that stuff. And then you have the Rise of the First Order, which is Wicked, which is just at first I was kind of opposed to this, if I'm being really honest with you, Scotty. I thought that it seemed unnecessary, and I thought the Age of Rebellion, Age of I felt like that were really solid classifications. What I like about this, Scotty, is the fact that now you have trilogies broken up.
Yep.
Like you have A New Hope in one era, and then you have Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi in another. And I think that's genius because you don't have one. I think from like a story structure, I think that's great. Like over a period of time, those are more buckets that they can fill with stories. But like for people who want to spend time, like, you know, not happy about the sequel trilogy, this is a great way for you to think of Star Wars differently as not like the prequel trilogy, the original trilogy, and the trilogy. Like, what a great way to like kind of like reboot how we digest these different stages of the story. I think this is great too, because my God, if they would have just said the Skywalker saga, that would have been like everything. And then you would have had High Republic. You know, like, it wouldn't have worked. And so I really enjoy this. Are we on the same page here, Scotty?
Dude. Differently, 100%. So when you think about it and you look at it, and I'm gonna pull up the graphic again just so we can all see it. Oops, sorry, David. Just so we all can see it. The important thing about that is the fact that you get these categories, and I said it before, right? I said it on I believe it was the live stream after the Mando's final episode. I said this season has done something I've never expected with the Mandalorian. It put everything as Star Wars, right? And of course, you can see it right here in front of us. It's a great graphic, all right? So things that I thought were interesting were the actual titles: Fall of the Jedi, Reign of the Empire, Age of the Rebellion, The New Republic, The Rise of the First Order. All these things are very important to the overall story of the galaxy. But the titles are what I like. Fall of the Jedi, okay? And I can see how that might irk someone, but that's all the prequels were. That's what George was explaining when he did the prequels.
Yeah,
I don't understand the anger behind that. I'm being real honest with you. That doesn't really connect with me, and I'm sure it might with someone in the chat, and if it does, then that's you. But when you look at it, Fall of the Jedi is that moment. That is what the prequels were. It's the Jedi failing because of their hubris, okay? So then Reign of the Empire is kind of cool because we haven't seen but a trailer for The Bad Batch, and honestly, I think that might, for me as a big prequel fan, that's probably the most fruitful, okay, of all of this. That one little last couple of weeks, maybe the first transition into the Empire, that's going to be something cool. Fallen Order kind of gave us that, right? So looking forward to where that goes, because as you can tell, probably going to add some to that list, okay? Age of the Rebellion, of course, we love the Rebellion era, but the New Republic, all right, as you see on the timeline right there, has just the Mandalorian, or we're going to get some more added to it. So honestly, nomenclature and giving things a title and a category have never bothered me, okay? It's an important thing to do in Star Wars because you kind of have to fit your stories in certain areas. And really, I think this timeline could be helpful for really casual viewers. They'll look at it and go, oh, okay, that's where this happens, because, I mean, really, to be honest with you, the biggest questions I got after the final episode of The Mandalorian were all the text I got were, hold on, I thought Luke knew Yoda. And I'm like, okay, wait a sec. I'm not kidding. And the people that sent me that are wonderful people. They just didn't know. They don't understand where things fit in the timeline. So if they continue to go with this, what we're looking at, it might really clear the air for a lot of fans that might not be the most aware of where things take place. So
I think this is a great place to enter Star Wars. If you have a friend that doesn't know anything or has talked about wanting to get into Star Wars, this is a great entry point because it's the refresh button has been hit again. This is the second time that we've had the classifications of these eras change here in the Disney run at Star Wars. And this to me seems a lot cleaner. And I'm really excited to see how they continue to build this out. You can also find this graphic in every High Republic publication. That's where we got this image from. It's from there. So real quick, I want to shout out some people that are with us in the live chat. Galanorian Saver says it's necessary because previously it was just divided by movie trilogies. Now it's a lot more. That's true because they've really expanded it. And he's asking which story is the one where Mace comes back. I'm hoping it's Mandalorian season 3, man. Lords of the Long Box. Listen, these guys drop scoops on comic books all the time. They are ahead of releases. They're great to follow. TiVo, all of them, Dark Side Jedi, they're all great people. Check them out. They're live like us, like every night. They're great. They work relentlessly. All remaining systems, Fall of the Jedi is both literal events of the prequels and the exact subtext George Lucas intended, which kind of goes to Scotty's point. Just really fun. I love how it really is a separate show in the live chat, and everyone's having a good time. Hey, we got Eric having us.
That's my stepdad.
No
What's
way,
up,
really?
Coach? Yes, for real. That's amazing. What's up, Coach?
I'm glad we just got done shit talking your family because that would have been really awkward if he had been here for that. That didn't happen. Eric, I'm sorry. God, Eric already thinks I'm a jerk. I'm not a jerk. I promise. I'm just a nerd. Hey, we got Silos in the live chat. He said, hey, what's up? He wants, whenever he jumps in the live chat, he's always like, dude, we need some more General Grievous, which after that episode of Clone Wars, I'm like, yeah, I could use me some General Grievous backstory too. A 5 or 4 issue mini comic series would be dope. And go back and like see him as a warrior. I don't know, that would be a lot of fun. Why do I feel like we've gotten that comic before? Oh, Marie's gonna kill me if she finds out.
I think Dark Horse did a Kalish comic. I believe like back in like 2005.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think you're right. Well, hey, we're at 10 o'clock right now, but we made some promises to talk some fan questions.
Yes.
So before we blast out of here, we're gonna hit we put out the call to action every week. We got a ton of responses, so we picked the 3 that we want to talk about tonight. We'll save some for next week, but always have those questions, and you can tweet us 24/7 at BTBD Star Wars. Any Star Wars question, we'll take an answer here on the show. And so far, I have not gotten any hate from Eric Holden, so that's good. Holy God, that scared the shit out of me. I'm going to be honest with you. All right, cool. So, hey, first question here from the fan. This is from Anubis316. He says, did Dooku know Palpatine was the Emperor? Sometimes I feel he does, but others I'm not so sure. I love this question because one, I think why I love this question so much is because of the fact that the one moment that really makes you ask the question is Dooku's death.
Oh,
where he looks at Palpatine and he's like the fear of God or the horror in his eyes, right? And so you just wonder, what is that relationship? Clearly the face suggests he knows in that moment that Palpatine is the Emperor. Now, I will say this. My buddy David Gilbert is not a fan of when this happens. But this is when there's a moment in the book that should have definitely been in the movie. In the book, there's a conversation between Dooku and Palpatine where they're waiting for Obi-Wan and Anakin to show up in the novelization.
I didn't know this.
And it makes it very clear. Dooku knows exactly who Palpatine is. Knows exactly what's going down here. And that's why when Dooku turns to Palpatine, when he kill him, do it, right? That whole bit. Dooku's like, wait, are you kidding me right now? And his almost pride or trust in his master, like so many other apprentices, allows his downfall. But there's also a few instances throughout the trilogy, right, where Dooku like craps on Palpatine, like calls him like a bureaucrat. I mean, Scotty, when you read this question and take out what I've said out of the house, because like I should have kept maybe the novelization reference to the end, but like, what's your argument here?
So when I think of Palpatine, right, there's one thing that really comes to mind that Dave Filoni actually implemented. Apparently, Maul was in on the plan the entire time. So maybe Palpatine has had these apprentices, let them know, and then killed them moments before, they could ever really see this thing be fulfilled. And like I've always said, and you can always go on Bob Badcast and watch the videos, Palpatine's the greatest villain of all time. But Palpatine's also really clever, okay? He's always got a plan A, a plan B, a plan C. He knows how it's going to come. So if he sees something like that where obviously, Dooku's was about to get killed, he knew, okay, if I kill him, no one can question him. It's all good. I'm the Chancellor. No one will ask anything about it, right? So I honestly think Dooku knew, and Dooku trusted him all the way. And that obviously, if you play Bounty Hunter, we know Dooku's the one that has to find Jango Fett to be the clone copy that everyone wants to have for the clones.
I wish that story was still canon.
I know. And our friend John Knowles, who has been on the show, who's the one who wrote it. He's been on BTB Live. He's been on Bomb Badcast. Both great episodes. Check them out. And he talks about that, right? And I just find it really interesting that if Dooku didn't know, that'd be insane, because that'd just be the best kept secret of the world. So I don't know. I want to know what the chat thinks of that, because they might have some answers we didn't know, right? So the chat, please send your responses to this about Palpatine and Dooku possibly knowing him.
Yeah, all remaining systems. Dooku is one of the most weird characters, because as much as we've seen him in canon, we don't really know what his exact motivations were. Which, okay, I hate to do this, because we just talked about a detail from the book that should have been in the movie, but like, go read Kevin Scott's Dooku Jedi Lost, because it tells you what his motivations are. Basically, he lost his family.
Yes.
And he was angry about losing his family when he was pulled away to become a Jedi, because he eventually goes and he runs into his family on Sereno. And so it's a great story. You got to read this book. Honestly, do the audiobook.
Yeah.
Audiobook is fantastic. And that's actually how it came out first as an audiobook, and then they released the print version later on. But go check that out. It's so good. People are having a lot of fun in the live chat. Dale says he always knew. Andy Maul had visions of what was to take place. So that's a really good point. Dooku and Maul knew who he was, but they didn't know they didn't know they were just stepping stones.
Yeah, that's true. And Maul says that. Yeah, Maul says it. He's like, he straight up says, "Well, I'm looking for Anakin Skywalker," and at the Siege of Mandalore, and oh, he's the key to all this. Essentially, is what he says. So I think it's really important to acknowledge that Dooku was a huge player in the Confederate of Independent Systems versus the Republic, right? I mean that's a huge war that he was a part of.
Yeah, he was the face.
Yeah, he was the face, and Palpatine was always the puppet master. And you could see him right there in the back. He was the creepy guy pulling the strings of everything. So I don't know. This was an amazing question. Anubis just followed me as well on Twitter. So I'm loving this. Come back, please. That was wonderful.
Great question. What do you think? Did Dooku already know? Is it not acceptable for me to use the novelization of a movie as reasoning?
I think it is. Yeah, come on.
Scotty's defending me. Scotty, I love you, buddy. You're just always defending me. And it's a valid thing because I think I honestly, the movies to me are the canon, and the books, they just kind of the books offer more of a story.
Yeah.
But I think if you pulled 100 Star Wars fans, I think that 95 would tell you that what matters the most is what's in the movie, and that's what canon is. So. And that's fine. I'm not going to get into an argument about that. That's fine. The next question we have here tonight is from Mr. Daftpon. 2021 has started with a huge literary bang with Charles Soule's Light of the Jedi, and today we see the issue of #1 of the High Republic comic. How far do you think telling the story in print can go before it needs to open up to something cinematic or televisual to continue the momentum? Scotty, we've talked about this once already on the show tonight, but I mean, it's going there already, right? With the Acolyte.
Yeah. So for people that might not know, the summary, or I guess the synopsis of the Acolyte is going to be that it concludes the High Republic era. Now, a lot of things come to mind. All right. And we all love Star Wars and we all appreciate the beautiful point of timelines here, in which they obviously established, which is really important to them. We know that Plagueis could have been around, right? And I would love if the big threat the entire time was Darth Tenebris and Darth Plagueis, which could be the case. So we don't know how old Plagueis is technically, or maybe stated, but it's not canon really. So to write him into a story, I mean, that's a character we've heard about, and literally, and we know how JJ is with Star Wars, but JJ said the best part in all the prequels is that moment. So what a better opportunity to bring him in would be the Acolyte. So you can do this whole entire story of the High Republic building up, okay, to the reveal of that villain. Who was the villain the entire time? I don't know. I haven't got to the end of the Light of the Jedi, but we'll see. So
we also know the Acolyte is like 3 to 4 years away.
Yeah.
And we also know that's a female-led project, which has some people thinking, what if Plagueis was a she? Or what if Plagueis was non-binary? Because I think in Revenge of the Sith, he is like a gender is referenced. Not that it's important, but like if Plagueis were to be in that story, will not be a main character by any means. It is a female-led series. That is what Leslie Headland has said. That's the official word from Lucasfilm.
Yes.
So, I know that a lot of people are talking about it as a possibility to see Plagueis, but if that were to happen, it would be like the last. It would probably be like the season 2 finale Mandalorian, where it's like at the very end, boom, there's Plagueis, and then gone. But the question was, how long can they go in print before they go to the screen? They've already told you they're going to the screen. They're going to touch about the High Republic and the Acolyte, which is kind of towards the end of that era where there is a dark force emerging. So that's why people are like, well, Plagueis, but it could also be like a baby Palpatine. I think that's interesting. I think if you talk to Arzu Amin, who is at home recovering, she's been under the weather. We hope you feel better soon. See you next week, Arzu. But she is very much so against this being a Plagueis series, just
which
for
I
the
get.
fact that it's been said it's a female lead. That said, I would love the Dark Force Rising to be a Plagueis or a Palpatine. It would totally.
One thing, real quick, David, that I think it's important to state, okay, is that this timeline's really interesting, and I believe now, I think it had leaked maybe somewhere on Reddit, I don't know, and the sources might not be reliable, but it was also stated somewhere that we may get a High Republic like animated series. So just think about that. Disney Plus has been fruitful with all the new Star Wars stuff. So we'll see. We'll see.
Nick, just for this comment, I'm not going to let you be on the live show tomorrow night, on the live call-in show. What if the story of the family line of the Calicans, all of whom were distinguished Jedi except for their disappointment of a great-great-grandson?
Oh, my God. Yes. Yes.
I'd sell my Disney stock. That's what I'd do.
That is amazing.
I'm kidding.
Could you imagine?
Great time to mention it, though. Tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. You got the first Beyond the Blast Doors live call-in show, what we're now calling Force Connect on Friday nights. This week, it's Pete and Josh helming that. What's cool about the show is like it literally could be all 8 of the people of the network on that show at one time. And it could just be one person. You just never know who's going to pop in on that call-in show, but it's a lot of fun. Have a camera, have a good mic, and have a really good Wi-Fi connection, and you'll be able to call in too, and you can drop your Star Wars hot take before they force push your ass on your way. A lot of really cool people in the live chat. We got Alex with us. I know that Alex likes it when we call him out, especially when Scotty's on camera. We got Andy, a Ben Solo type fault from Grace. Nick. Okay, so he's talking about something different. I think I grabbed the wrong tweet there, but that's okay. Let's go on to the last question. And I think this is a good one to end on. This is for Matthew. Big thanks to everyone for tweeting their questions. You can always do it at B2BD Star Wars. Matthew and Mr. Daft Prawn, I believe, are both Patreon supporters. And I think actually joined too. I could be wrong. But nonetheless, the first and most important question I need answered is how many times has Scotty J. Rose seen The Phantom Menace? Scotty, how many times have you seen it?
Look, here's the deal. Okay. I have the tape right here. And I'm going to be real honest with you. I wish I could give you a number. But
more or less than 500.
Honestly, yes. But the thing I will say is 2015 was my renaissance back in Star Wars. And I know for a lot of people it was too. But I love that movie. Honestly, you see the poster right there. So I watch it. This is going to sound real sad. I probably watch it once a month. I just love the things. I love the way it feels. It's just so pure. And I think George was doing so much with it, but I mean, it might fall flat for some people. I don't know why. So the amount of times, honestly, since 2015, probably about 50, 60 times.
That's a lot lower than I thought it was going to be.
Well, I love the sequel trilogy since they were all so new. I've just been rewatching them, but there's certain things, in the Phantom Menace that still hold, I still hold in really high regard. But here we are, we're getting all new stories. If they were to go back and go with a story in the Phantom Menace era, I think people would really like that. I think really would like more Liam Neeson showing up. So, question 2.
The answer is that Scotty's watched it a shitload of times, and he's going to watch it a lot more times. If the average male lives to 74, he will watch it a lot more times.
Oh, heck yeah.
Let's talk about this part of the question, too. Matthew asks, will we get a teaser trailer for Kenobi in late December, and when will we get an official release date on Kenobi? Your best guess for a trailer, Scotty, is what?
My best guess? Well, they just started filming, and I was hoping something would leak this week because that would be just perfect. Like just you in some sort of outfit. So, honestly, trailer, Lord, I mean, we know what The Mandalorian, they had just flipped it. And I don't know if David was at the panel for The Mandalorian back at Celebration 2019, but principal photography was done. Like done. And they hadn't dropped a single bit of footage until that day. So, I mean, it's entirely up to when Disney or Lucasfilm feels like putting it out. It's going to happen this year. I really am a firm believer. We'll get at least a screen test or at least something just delightful, because this is the show that has been the most requested show since the acquisition. And you can go back on comments on old Facebook posts and see I hope they make a Kenobi show. And here we are 8 years later, 9, I guess now, and we're going to get it. And it's totally going to come out in 2022. So I'm just really looking forward to the fact that we get to see Ewan and Hayden again. And David's the first to tell you. I mean, we were live together. We have a very special bond when we watched that investors call, and he saw my tears of absolute joy.
We all cried that day. I think that it is realistic to think that there will be some footage by December. Here's my thing. I think that Kenobi is probably early 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And if that were the case, you might get a teaser in December.
Yes.
I think actual footage, you might not see it until Star Wars Celebration in 2022, where you have Ewan on screen, much like you had Ian McDermott come back on stage for the Rise of Skywalker trailer.
Yes.
So I think that's probably the most realistic. If it happens any sooner, I'll be very happy about it. I will not be unappreciative. But I think that's the most realistic timeline right now, given the fact that we don't know anything more than production started in January, which is interesting because we got a report a few months ago that production had been moved from March to January.
Mm-hmm.
And Ewan McGregor originally confirmed March, got reported that moved to January. December 10th on the investor call, Kathleen Kennedy said it was March, but we've confirmed that, and not like we've, like the world has confirmed production has started this month on Kenobi. And so I think that if you look at, they were able to do 8 episodes of The Mandalorian in early production in the early year, and then they were able to drop that season at the end in December. I guess they could flip it around a year. I just don't see that happening. But maybe it's only like 4 episodes, and that's possible. I don't know. But first look maybe in December, full trailer at Star Wars Celebration with Ewan on stage, and then bring on Kenobi either, maybe winter 2022. No, because you're going to have,
We'll see, man. That's the thing. We don't know.
Out earlier that year, right?
Yeah, we don't know dates. The only thing we know, so Book of Boba Fett is going to be December 2021. It says that.
Yeah.
And I believe Dave had hinted at in an article that it's going to pretty much, Book of Boba Fett's going to end, and then Mando season 3 is going to pick up very soon after.
And originally, Mandalorian season 3 was going to be in December as well. It was going to drop on December 25th.
Yep.
So that's what I'm thinking. I wonder if you get Book of Boba Fett in December, and then you get Mandalorian in February to set up hype for getting to start a celebration for Kenobi, and then maybe you get Kenobi in December of 2022. That would be best case scenario. I'm going to stay with this. I'm going to stick with 2023. I think that's what I'm going to do. Let us know what you think. When do you think we're going to get Kenobi? We want to know. Let us know in the live chat or the comment section. Let us know in the comment section to continue this Star Wars conversation. Oh my goodness. That felt like a marathon in a lot of ways. I feel like we have gotten here to the end of the show, and here we've been going on for 80 minutes. But it's been a lot of fun. I'm so glad because this is the first time, Scotty, that you've been able to come on and host the show with me. And I got real casual. You really relaxed me. And so,
come on.
I feel a little off, but you really picked it up. You carried this show, and I appreciate it.
Hold on, man. So I told David before we started recording, I said, I've been watching BDBD Live since 2018, maybe even early 2019. And I don't know. I told him, I said, this was a special show to me when I used to watch it, and now being on it means a lot. And I might show back up frequently. So we'll see. We will see.
I would. You know what, Scotty? You're always welcome back.
Okay.
And honestly, I wish that there were thousands more people that felt like you did,
dude. And that's the thing. That's what makes, I think, our network unique, and that's what makes the show unique, is that we've all got different perspectives. I'm excited to have Arzu back on next week because she brings a different perspective, and everyone in the chat. I mean, look at it. All these people bring different perspectives, and that's why I love this community and this group. So I don't know. I just feel very fortunate. And David, you need to praise yourself, man. You're great. This is great. You created this. This is you, baby.
We're just here having a good time. We just like to do stuff. That's what we do here on Beyond the Blast Doors Live. We just do stuff. Anything goes. Big thanks. It was really easy to decide not to do the episode last night, to be honest with you. We wanted the first episode of 2021 to feel right. Yes. And it just was a situation where man, life is really heavy right now. And I'm really glad that Scotty and I woke up today saying, no, today feels right. Let's talk some Star Wars. There's a lot of exciting things happening for not just Beyond the Blast Doors Live, but for the network here in 2021. And we're really glad that you're joining us for this experience. It's all building to 2022. Star Wars Celebration is going to be something special for this network. We all firmly believe that. And one of the main reasons why is because when you join us for the live chat, also, Frammy, I know who you are. I'm sorry that I had a mental, or I understand that Mr. Defpron on Twitter is you. Well, the male half of you, the couple. We love you. But yeah, it's all building to 2020. Like, I'm hyped. I am so excited about the conversations we're having internally about this celebration that's a year and a half away. So like, I'm in a really good place with my love for the franchise right now. The network is doing really cool things, and we're so glad that you're with us. Do us a favor. If you enjoy our conversation here, share us with your friends. Invite your friends to join you in the live chat on Wednesday nights when we usually go live, because that's how we're going to grow this Star Wars conversation. I love how every week there's one more person that joins us, and we've gone from having 15 people with us live to 30. Let's get 60 people watching live every week. Let's get 150 people watching live every week. It's only going to happen if we're all pushing that message of our Star Wars conversation, where we're all inclusive here, not exclusive, and we can talk about Star Wars the most generic level, or we can get the most insider baseball. We're just here to have a really good time.
We got some great comments real quick. I love this. My son said, this show is great, and then later he says, if it sucked, I promise I'd say it. So, I mean, he's honest. I mean, he's a football coach. He's straightforward. So we've also got some really good love from Apprentice Ewok. Okay. I don't know. This is the kind of stuff we live for. This is the kind of stuff we love to provide. And honestly, it's what gives me life. And David, you and I be the first to talk about it. I mean, we have a text going all the time that deals with the great people that make this thing up. So I don't know. I'm just happy we have so many people that always want to join and hang out. It really does mean a lot.
Dave McFadden in the live chat. It's great to see Nick Melky blacklisted. I did not blacklist you. You're going to be on the call-in show tomorrow and talk for 37 minutes like you always do. Like that. I love the call-in show because it's like, okay, guys, every time it's like, all right, everyone gets 3 minutes and then they're gone. And then Nick becomes like, he's essentially like a temporary, like a full-time host. He's on the third of the show. And it's like, Nick, are you going to give someone else a chance to talk? I like the guy a lot. That's why I tease him, because I like him so much. I was saying shots fired. I'm getting out of here. David has the meat sweats again. Is my brow? I guess it's shiny. You know what, though? This is real. Last week I had makeup on, and so from work, and so yeah, I am sweating a little bit. This is a very warm fleece, or not fleece, but sports jacket that I've had. We're getting off topic. This episode needs to end. Christ, get us out of here, Chewie. Come on, for the love of God. Oh, that's the wrong intro. I can't believe I almost hit the wrong intro. Hey, for Scotty Drayro, for David Amalotti, this is Beyond the Blast Doors Live, episode 103. That's right. Kevin Feige has a new writer on his movie. The canon timeline's been redefined, and we're all here for it. 2021. Let's make it special. We'll see you next week. Call-in show tomorrow night. See you soon.
Thank you for watching Beyond the Blast Doors. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up and leave a comment. Beyond the Blast Doors, a Star Wars conversation.